welcome. Glocal is quite a special global event where us in the evaluation community take a pause in our very hectic schedules to think about the work that we're doing and to talk about some future directions of evaluation and just learn from each other in terms of the experiences we're having in the evaluation space. That being said, there are hundreds of Glocal events that you could have chosen from. So we're very happy that you chose this one. And so obviously we know that the numbers are always not always very high for all the events. That being said, then with us being such a small group, maybe there'll be some opportunities for us to then talk directly to each other and for you to talk directly to the amazing panelists today. That's the benefit always of having a smaller group of people. So we warmly welcome you and we thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about the discussion today, the session today, and who our panelists are. Our title of our session is Evaluation Without Borders, Enhancing Regional Accessibility of Evaluation Training. And the meaning behind that title is the fact that all of us, the institutions represented here, deliver training under a particular umbrella called IPDET, or linked to a program called IPDET. But what we're trying to do, or our intention going forward now, is to make sure that that particular program and any programs related to it become more accessible regionally, especially, and particularly in areas where international development and cooperation projects and programs are taking place, and to decentralize and democratize, if I can use that term, some of the training opportunities that our institutions do deliver on. I'm Candice Morkel. I am the head of IPDET, the International Program for Development Evaluation Training. I am from South Africa originally, but I'm currently based in Bern, Switzerland. I would like our very skillful technical coordinator for today to also introduce herself, because she's not just the technical coordinator for this Glocal session, but she has a very important role in IPDET as well. Marina, please will you introduce yourself as well?
Thank you, Candice. My name is Marina Krakow, and I'm the training coordinator of IPDET, and I started in March of this year, and I'm very happy to be here and providing this event as IPDET and the partnership with our colleagues. And I hope you have a great session and many questions, and yeah, enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marina. And indeed, we do hope that our participants are going to have a lot of questions and comments for us. What we'll do is we'll take a few comments and responses to questions from our panelists. I will engage a little bit with the panelists as well, and we'll do that to around about the top of the hour, so around about 3 o'clock CET. And then after that, we'll hand it over to yourselves as the participants, and you will be able to ask us questions and engage with some of the statements that we're making today. So please feel free to continue in the chat, introducing yourselves as well in the chat, who you are, where you're from, what your interest is in this topic. We'd love to hear from you. And then you can also use the chat for questions and comments you'd like to make while we are speaking. We will look at the chat box during the Q&A session, but we will also, if we're a small enough group, might be able to take some of your questions live on the floor as well. So without further ado, let me introduce the amazing panelists we've got with us today. We really are, I think, very fortunate to have with us. I'm going to start with Dr. Stephen Masvahure. He is from the Center for Learning on Evaluation and Results, Anglophone Africa. He is the Research and Learning Lead and Quality Assurer. He is a Senior Evaluation Technical Specialist based in Johannesburg at the University of the Witwatersrand, South Africa. He holds a PhD in Development Studies, and Dr. Masvahure possesses more than 15 years of working experience as a researcher and evaluator in the development sector across several African countries. Then next on my screen, we have Arif Ben Abdallah. Arif is an INAP advisor for international affairs. Arif is is based in Quebec, Canada at the moment. He is an expert in the field of public policy evaluation and a professor at ENAP. He is also the co-vice president and executive committee member of EVAL SDGs. And then last but certainly not least, we have Louise Picard. She is the international affairs advisor for ENAP and for the Organizational Development and International Cooperation Department, specifically at ENAP, Canada. With over 15 years' experience in international cooperation, she has been coordinating the International Program for Development Evaluation Training, that is PIFED. We'll be hearing a lot more about the organizations, the institutions themselves, and the individuals and their perspectives on evaluation capacity development today. So thank you so much to the panelists. We are really excited to have you here and very grateful that you gave up your time to be here. Just in terms of a brief overview of the session, we really want to highlight to everyone the unique approaches for each of these programs. It might be under the banner or umbrella of IPDET, but I think the regional and contextual realities for each of these is very different. I think that's really important. We also want to talk to you about IPDET's expansion strategy, and I'll talk a bit about that. Why did we think about expanding IPDET, and what is our vision and our ambitions for the future? And our goal is also to raise awareness of all of our evaluation training offerings and discuss how these can or need to evolve, should I say, to meet the rapidly changing needs of evaluation professionals such as yourselves, as well as decision makers in today's global context. So that's just a brief overview of what this session is about today. But certainly we are going to hear a lot more from our panelists. So, to my esteemed colleagues, the first question that I actually have is for Clear AA. So, Stephen, for you, we know that IPDET is one of the most iconic and globally recognized training programs for evaluation, but it has not been accessible to a wide audience. Tell us about your collaboration with IPDET in expanding IPDET's reach and strengthening capacities in the global south in particular, and particularly the countries where Clear AA works. Over to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Candice. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. So I just want to elaborate on Candice's question regarding the decentralization of IPDET to the African continent. I think it's a collaboration that we are working together with IPDET so that we can actually bring IPDET to Africa, and it's going to be happening this year in Nairobi in November this year. So I think the point that I want to make is not necessarily is actually that when I talk about decentralization, it's not necessarily a change of venue from Bern to Africa, but it also means that there's an opportunity for IPDET to be contextualized to our local context in Africa. In the sense that when you look in terms of the practice of monitoring and evaluation in the African space, you find out that it's completely different from other continents. Our systems are still actually in their infancy, and where systems have been developed, probably their operability is actually facing quite a number of challenges. So if you've got a group of people that are going to be in Nairobi sitting together, facing the same challenges, there's a high possibility that we're actually going to find better solutions to some of our problems, as compared to probably having a variety of problem participants in Switzerland who are from different contexts. So the most important aspect is actually the contextualization of IPDET, so that it can actually unlock some of the pressing issues in the evaluation space in Africa. Then secondly, there's also a point in terms of the cost of IPDET. Obviously, when it's in Africa, the cost of actually participating on IPDET actually becomes less, which also means that quite a number of institutions, organizations, even government departments, have the ability to actually probably fund some of their employees to attend IPDET. So this is quite very important. Why I'm saying it's important, because I think we know that IPDET is iconic and is actually held in high regard and also the relationships, the networks that are actually formed through participating in IPDET last longer, and they are not only work relationship, but they also bring in that kind of tapping into the expertise that is around, that is in the room, and people can actually work together to find solution to some of the issues that we face is what in the monitoring and evaluation is what in our context. So I would like to stop here, Candice. Yeah, back to you.
Thanks very much, Stephen. And I'd like to engage a bit with what you said there, because I think you made a couple of important points. I think one of them being that IPDET has had this iconic status for many, many years. For those who are new to evaluation or you're not that familiar with IPDET itself, it was birthed at by World Bank colleagues Ray Rist and Linda Mora-Imas, and it was actually out of Carleton University in Canada, where it was first established and birthed and had developed its iconic status. So before there was IPDET Bern, there was IPDET Canada. And I think at the time, about 20 years ago, there weren't many offerings available for training and professional development in monitoring and evaluation. I think now, if you look at the options, there are more options available. Obviously, still accessibility is a problem, but it's definitely a lot more than it was available in the past. And I think that the iconic status is not just about the content, but it's also now become about building a community of practitioners who can meet and build the field and grow their knowledge. I think what we're trying to do now is to perhaps move it away from that exclusive space. So it became a very exclusive space. I think the iconic status and the exclusivity of it kind of went hand in hand. And one of the challenges and one of the critiques of it was that, well, it's so exclusive and so iconic that it's inaccessible to many people. And so that's the transformation process that we are trying to undertake right now. And of course, it is complex, it is challenging, but it is what is needed. And I think if we do it collaboratively with like-minded partners, I think we can really start to see the changes being brought about. This year, one of the signals that we are giving to the evaluation community that change is coming is, for example, collaborating with Clear AA and diverting all of the scholarships that would have ordinarily have gone to Bern, Switzerland. They are going to Nairobi. And we're very, very pleased about that, because now we are putting meaning to our words. We're not just saying that we're wanting to decentralize and make things accessible, but we're saying we're actually going to provide the scholarships as well to make this happen. Same core course content, a combination of local facilitators, which is really important as well. We're not just exporting or importing facilitators from Switzerland to Nairobi, but we're actually working collaboratively. And another important point that Stephen mentioned was about the contextualization of the content. So we're also looking at the content together to see, are the case studies relevant for the African context? For the cohorts who are going to be attending in Nairobi, is the application applicable? Is it relevant? And what kind of tweaks do we need to make? So the core framework or structure of the training and the content remains the same, but we are tailoring so that it becomes more applicable to the African context. I think another point about expansion is also that it's more than regional. That's the other point that Stephen mentioned. It's not just about where it's happening. But another point to add to that is that expansion is also about the offerings that we have. And we know that the evaluation community is looking to more innovative content, looking to more creative content. A lot of the evaluation community have graduated beyond just the fundamentals and the basics of M&E. Yes, it's always going to be needed. You're always going to need to start somewhere if you're new to the evaluation field. So that's never going away. But I think a large portion of our evaluation community who've grown with us are saying to us, we need something more, we need something different. Our professional development pathways need to be more coherent. We need to be able to know how to stack all of the pieces together now. We're attending so many trainings. What does this mean for me professionally? So our expansion plan is also taking all of those into consideration. So that was just in response to what you were saying there, Stephen. And I'm going to move now to Louise and to Arif. Louise, maybe you can kick us off in terms of ENAP. And if you'd like to talk a little bit more about ENAP as well in your program, please, you feel free to do so. But in a similar vein, PIFED and TAQYEEM have provided courses in French and Arabic for a while now. So if you could tell us a bit more about these programs, and more importantly, what does this collaboration with IPDET mean, and how do you see it furthering the cause of building evaluation capacities in the global south and the markets that you serve? Over to you, Louise.
Thank you so much, Candice. I think this is an important panel, and this is an important question. IPDET and PIFED have been coexisting for a while now. As you mentioned, Candice, IPDET was first created in Ottawa in 2001, and we did have at ENAP being the National School of Public Administration based in Quebec, Canada, for those who don't know our higher education university. And so some of our teachers, professors were actually involved in IPDET, having a campus right across the border in Gatineau, which is the city right next to Ottawa. And so this is sort of how PIFED was born. The professors that were teaching at ENAP at the time thought that it would there was a gap in the training sessions. There were no offerings at all in French in terms of evaluation capacity building, and so the Francophones had to force themselves to follow the programs in English when they did have access to it. And so this is sort of how PIFED was born. It was created to fill that gap and to offer high quality education training in evaluation in French. And so PIFED was created in 2011, so it's been already over 14 years now. And our distinctive approach with PIFED, we did have an annual training offered in Quebec City, similarly to what was offered in Ottawa at the time, and now which is being offered in the beautiful city of Bern. But really soon in the existence of PIFED, we started to understand that there was a real need to develop local ownership in terms of capacity in evaluation. And so we started as soon as in 2015 to offer the program on the field with local stakeholders and organizations to respond to this growing demand for capacity building, but within organizations. So we sort of had the two options available. One version of the program, which was offered on subscription with scholarships, where individuals could come in Quebec City and for 2 or 4 weeks follow the program that was offered in Canada, or we could we and this is actually what we're doing more intensively now. We work directly with organizations to build capacity within organizations. So using the same content of the program, but we adapt it to local realities, to local laws and regulations, and local organizational cultures as well. And so we've been doing this for a while now, and this led us also to the translation of the program, to the adaptation of the program, I should say, in Arabic. And my colleague Aref will talk to you a little bit more about this program, as he is the lead of that program at ENAP. Our program TAQYEEM, which is the little brother of PIFED, and I would say a cousin to IPDET, if we can talk. So all in the same family, deserving different geographic contexts, different linguistic contexts as well. But we're really, really happy to have this conversation today, and to deepen our relationship with IPDET, with Clear AA as well, to show that together we can really fill the gap in terms of building capacity in evaluation training in different regions of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise, and thank you for that insight into a little bit of history. I actually didn't know that, so that was very, very interesting about the connection with University of Ottawa as well. And I want to come back to that point about the model, what works. Tailored courses for institutions or big one-off courses. I think that's sort of what in our transformation process, those are the questions we're asking ourselves now as well. And I think that might be a very important and interesting topic for us to touch on as well. But let me ask Arif now to talk to us about TAQYEEM. Arif, over to you.
Thank you, Candice, and thank you for everybody to join to this morning and this afternoon for some people. I would like to continue the story that Louise started for the history and try to explain a little bit why an Arabic program in a French university like ENAP, what did push ENAP to create this program and to participate to offer this program in a foreign language, Arabic language. So the reason, and many people asking me sometime, why are you in this area? The main reason that for many years, starting from 2015, like Louise explained, when we go on the field and work with different organizations, especially public organizations, we did have a lot of session from PIFED TAQYEEM in the Maghreb region. It means in Tunisia, in Morocco, sometime in Algeria and Djibouti also. But all was in French language. It's the PIFED session, and many of them they explain the difficulty or the challenge to get all this knowledge and capacity in a different language of what they are using on the ground for work, because many and almost the majority of this organization are working in Arabic language, and they have to perform evaluation in Arabic language and prepare their report in Arabic language. And we saw in this a big opportunity for us as ENAP to come with an offer and to try to create a joint a win-win and a collaboration with a different organization to create a program in Arabic language. But it take I can explain it take many years to prepare this. The idea started from 2016, after that until 2021, when we really have the support from IEG and from other partner, Al-Athar Center in Arabi Saudi, who believe on this project, and they put their help and support for that. So TAQYEEM was created really on the first session was in June 2021, and it was an online session because of COVID crisis. But after that, we start giving it in a different region, in the MENA region, Maghreb and Middle East, and also in the GCC in the Gulf, especially in Arabi Saudi, and we are planning to do it also in Qatar. We do have right now 10 sessions from the program and more than 300 participants. Almost half women and men. So we are really very proud of that. There was, and I will go back a little bit to what Stephen said about the challenge of bringing like this program on the field. It's not just exporting or importing some kind of program. But it's the real challenge is how to contextualize and how to make it fit in the real need of the different region and the different context of those organizations and those participants. Both of them, TAQYEEM and PIFED, are offering capacity development on evaluation for different type of participant or of a practitioner in evaluation. Some of them are in the public administration, some are in the organization or international organization, some of them are in civil society, and there is also the consultant and independent practitioner on evaluation and on the research on evaluation. So we have to fit, we have to meet with a lot of needs on the ground, and what is maybe a little bit special and particular with the TAQYEEM program is also the challenge with the different use of the Arabic language in the different region. So in the Maghreb, it's not exactly the same terminology that we are using. It's not the same use of language with the Middle East or with GCC Arabic country. So it was a little bit challenging for us, but we had a lot of collaboration with Islamic Development Bank, with some research center like the Planning Center in Planning Institute in Egypt, and Doha Institute, Hamad bin Khalifa University, and a lot of collaboration with different institutions in the region. So I want just to say to those who are following us or participant with us that it's not only enough effort, it's also a lot of collaboration with the different partner in the region, and that help to make TAQYEEM more contextualized, using a very let's say adapted terminology in Arabic, and that's as well what we have done with the PIFED also, because with PIFED we had a lot of collaboration with different institutions in the French language, because it was a similar challenge with the French language also. It's not the same French. Some people know the Quebec French. It's very different than the French terminology. So sometimes we have to adapt some to have this challenge for the language. I will stop by here, and I hope everybody. So we are offering TAQYEEM in a different version, in online and on-site, and this year it will be I think we will have at least 2 sessions for TAQYEEM, probably one in October, I hope so, and on the site. Over to you, Candice.
Thank you. I mean, that's just phenomenal. I think the growth of TAQYEEM in such a short period of time is quite phenomenal. And I think the rising demand just demonstrates the value that you're adding in the space. And I think what strikes me as well is that we talk in the evaluation community a lot about localization and indigenization. And here we have it happening, and it's a critical point of learning for us, I think, in the capacity development community, to say, what model did you use to not translate, but to actually make it applicable to the context? That's part of the transformation process, I think, that we are also in at the moment. Maybe one day, Stephen, we'll be able to offer this in Kiswahili. Wouldn't that be phenomenal? I think it's a really important point. Yeah, I think it really is an important point. I think a lot of the discussions that CLEAR has been involved in the publications around decolonizing evaluation and equitable evaluation, I think these are the kinds of very real issues that we are grappling with in the evaluation community. So to see it actually actioned in this way is just so highly valuable. I think linking to that is actually the times that we are in right now in evaluation, right? So we are in an unprecedented time of crisis. So we've got, of course, the climate crisis. We still have unprecedented levels of poverty on the African continent and in the rest of the developing world. We've lost many of the gains that we made in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think that evaluation itself is also grappling in sort of an existential crisis. What kind of value are we adding? And that's the question that we are being asked. I think we know the value we are adding, but those who are funding development cooperation and development programs are asking those difficult questions to say, why should we continue investing in evaluation and evaluation capacity development? So my question to all of us, and I'm asking the question of me as well, all of us here, how are our training and professional development initiatives therefore evolving to meet these rapidly changing needs of evaluation professionals in this context of crisis and to meet the decision makers' needs in today's global context? Maybe, Stephen, I can take you again.
Yeah, thank you, Candice, for the question. So the point that I want to make, Candice, is actually that in our context, I think we are still grappling with the old problems, but at the same time, we're also trying to address the emerging issues, especially in the evaluation space. So it makes our work much more complicated, because I think in other regions the old problems have been resolved. And now their focus is actually much more on emerging issues. So what we have been trying to do is actually that I think when you go back like 10 years ago, there wasn't that much written about evaluation or evaluation systems especially from the African continent. And I think as a center, we have invested into actually producing that kind of knowledge that feeds into the understanding of how evaluation is actually working out in Africa. And by doing so, it has also influenced people who are funding training programs, because now they've got new knowledge in terms of probably if you want to address this specific program, you need to change the way how we do things. I think a few years ago, there've been a lot of those unaccredited workshops that were being run by whoever decides to say, I want to train people on evaluation and M&E. But now people are realizing that actually it's not going to address the key gap that is actually in our context. So people have now moved from focusing on the supply side alone, and as a center, we have also moved from focusing on the supply side, but actually going into the demand side. Developing training programs for people who actually are expected to be using the evaluation evidence, the monitoring evidence. We're expected to actually make budget decisions in terms of setting up monitoring systems. So we've actually moved into that. And I think it has been rewarding for us because it addresses some of the key challenges that we have. Then secondly, we have also moved into the space where we focus on customized training. It's no longer a general training that is just given to say, oh, this is monitoring, this is evaluation, but we look at the context and actually contextualize the training to say, this is the environment that you work in. Probably you need this kind of training that will enable you to actually to generate evidence. And then we have also moved from just classroom training. We have moved into the space of actually providing mentorship on the job, because I think that's the most critical part for monitoring evaluation. It's practice-based. And in the sense that it's practice-based, it means that when you train someone in the classroom, it's more like you sit with a learner driver in a classroom and they say, oh, this is how you drive a car, and then you let them drive on their own without your supervision. I think it's going to lead to a disaster. So we now delving into supporting M&E practitioners in their workplace, giving them mentoring, linking them up to other M&E practitioners who are much more experienced, who can also help them in terms of in the day-to-day basis. So, and critically, we have also managed to start actually actually implementing training programs that focus on key topics like decolonizing evaluation, equitable evaluation, training that is focused in terms of the key challenge that is actually climate change, trying to actually capacitate people who work in the space for climate change to say, this is the way that you are supposed to be monitoring and evaluating it. And these are the challenges that you're expected to experience, and this is how you can actually address those specific challenges. And I think it has been there's been quite a high demand because these are the issues that actually leads people into the future, and they are actually emerging challenges that needs a real solution. So real solutions. So I'm going to maybe to stop here. Yeah, thank you.
Very much, Stephen. Again, very important points. And I liked your example about the driving. I was thinking about that earlier on. And my example I was thinking of is saying to somebody to read a recipe book versus actually cooking the recipe, cooking the food, So in the training course, we expect people to go and do the thing exactly the way we give them the recipe, but they might have a recipe book for meat eaters and then they're vegetarian. So like this doesn't apply to me because this is not what my context actually expects of me. So I think the point about how do we convert knowledge, the acquisition of knowledge, of head knowledge to actual competencies is a big area for us as well. And I'll also answer this question for IPDET as well. And for me, I know that evaluation itself is undergoing transformation, and a couple of the participants here are part of those discussions on evaluation transformation in, for example, the International Evaluation Academy. And this is because there's this realization that evaluation has to prove its value, not to ourselves, but to those out there who are, as I said, questioning, how much can we still continue to invest in evaluation for learning, for development. I think there's almost a push towards evaluation for accountability now, saying that evaluation must tell us what's working and what's not working with some kind of certitude. But we know that evaluation is beyond important beyond that. It's important beyond the ex post, after the fact lens. It's useful as well for even planning for program design as issues as well. So I think for me that evaluation being in some might say a fragile state, or maybe not a fragile state, but a state of an existential moment, right? To say how do we redefine itself? Evaluation, training, and professional development needs to also meet that moment. It cannot continue providing the same kinds of content, same kind of courses over and over again. And I think that this might still be a bit of a blind spot for evaluation capacity development. And I think that our teaching, and I don't mean ours, I mean in general in the evaluation community, has stayed stuck on the supply side. And I want to pick up on that point, because one of the learnings for us is that how do we start to develop the demand side as well? Meaning the decision makers and program leaders and those are in positions where they can actually have agency over what happens with program design, program investment. How do we ensure that we don't only train evaluators to do evaluations better, but we actually go across the entire, development value chain, so to speak, and look at where's the demand for the evidence, how can we grow the demand for that evidence so that there's a realization of that value. And I think those are the kind of things we're looking at to evolve our offerings and not focusing only on the supply side. I think obviously new course development and course revision. I think that with IPDET being 20 plus years old, I think the moment is right, and it has gone through certain moments of revision at different points in time, but it certainly is a point right now where we are seriously looking at what kind of major revisions do we have to do to the content to meet the moment. And I think that is very, very important, and also important to say that it won't be a behind the doors, closed doors, behind the desk process. We are going to be embarking on a very intensive consultation process with the evaluation community, with stakeholders, with institutions to ask the questions, how can we meet this moment? What are the needs now at the moment? And how should it redefine itself? I think another way in which we are evolving is to open ourselves up to new partners around thematic areas. So, how do we start to really become more, have more meaningful content on AI and evaluation, for example, climate change, the obvious topics that we have. And that means it requires of us to be more transdisciplinary in our approach. So perhaps partners we wouldn't have thought of partnering with before, but who are doing deep work in certain thematic areas, let's say on conflict fragility and violence affected states. There are people who've been working in those areas, and how do we then work collaboratively with them to develop content for evaluators who have to work in those kind of contexts? So I think opening up IPDET to new partners and new courses that can be accessible to the evaluation community will also help the evaluation community to be able to meet the new moment as well. And yes, I did talk about shifting to look at both supply and demand to build the field. So things around how do we link competencies and criteria and standards to evaluation capacity development as well. Like I said earlier on, I think the evaluation community is at a level of sophistication now where, everybody doesn't want to just kind of attend a course and say, oh, here's my certificate of attendance. But how do we link that to, kind of competencies and certain standards or levels of acquisition of competencies so that people feel that they are growing in their professional development journey in evaluation as well. So let me stop there and hand it over to Louise. How are you growing and changing and evolving?
Thank you, Candice. Thank you, Stephen. Also, I think this is all very interesting and inspiring as well. I was thinking about your question. It is true that we are in a moment of crisis right now in the world. We're also in a big moment of transformation, I believe, with the arrival of artificial intelligence, with many technological advancements and evolutions. We are in the moment where we have access to the most data that we've never had access before, and how can we accompany the public organizations into using this data, into building evidence, to have better performing public policies and programs? Essentially, how do we make use of those data? And I think even though we are, of course, in a moment of crisis where resources are competing against different needs, it is primordial in my point of view that we equip organizations, that we equip individuals that are working in those organizations to make better use of the technologies, to make better use of the information that is available to them, and that they learn through this transformation and they learn through these moments of crisis. I think we have a lot to do to adapt to these changes. I think times are changing so fast right now that the better people to have us adapt are the participants themselves. No, so when we talk with them, when we engage with them, when we really listen to what the organizations are going through, we are better equipped to meet those needs and to meet the moment. I really like the expression "meeting the moment," Candice. I think this is a very a powerful idea. That are we going to adapt sufficiently quickly to respond to this really huge need? But I think we must remain open, we must remain alert, and we must work together also. This is really important. I think IPDET, TAQYEEM, PIFED all have something to share, some expertise to mutualize. and working together, I think, will make us even stronger and more able to adapt to these changing moments. I think we have to embed a stronger focus on influence and use of data, of information. We're not just training evaluators, we're equipping them to work closely with decision makers, to communicate evidence more effectively, to promote learning cultures inside institutions, and we're helping organizations become learning organizations, organizations that are more resilient, more responsible, and more able to adapt themselves to the changes, because obviously it's not just through a training program that you will be able to grow through these changes, but you can become more and more open to learning and to adapting and to becoming a resilient organization. And I think evaluation training is a massive tool of change. I think more people that are practicing evaluation, but even just knowing how evaluation works, knowing the importance of evaluation, knowing the importance of evidence-based decision-making is really going to help us go through those times of crisis and transformation that are very, very deep. And it's not about defending evaluation, or it's mostly about reimagining evaluation and the use of evidence into to meet the moment and to fit in the world that we are in now. And so yeah, I will stop that for now.
That's amazing. I couldn't agree with you more, Louise. And it's what it's making me think about as well is the shifts we need to make in our curriculum, where a lot of the focus, I would say 90% of the focus, is on teaching skills and competencies, the hard skills. And we really need to shift the ratio of that to these, what we call soft skills, and understanding how to operate, in the world at this moment to meet the moment. I think it's not going to be just the acquisition of those hard skills. And I absolutely love what you're saying about that. Like, how do we then change it from just sitting in a classroom training to, okay, as an institution, what now that, it's not that now I've been trained and that's the end of the story. There's more to it. Absolutely love that. Arif, your views in this rapid growth phase of yours, are you even thinking about change, or are you just growing?
I think Stephen and Louise, they almost say a lot of things, but let me try to add a few things. I don't want to repeat but totally agree with what they just highlight. Yes, technology and artificial intelligence and all the transformation that we are seeing right now on the world is very important and should be taken in consideration when we are reviewing our content, our methodology, and all how we present the capacity development approach that we are using. A few years ago, when let's say in 2015, 2014, when I travel in Africa and different country or in MENA region, presenting the TAQYEEM or the PIFED program and evaluation and M&E program, usually almost the majority of the people I met during this period, they say, okay, but we don't have here in Africa or in MENA region or GCC, there is no real academic program for evaluation. There is no master degrees. There is no publication. There is no science newsletter or magazine for this. So there is no production and there is no localization and appropriation for this thematic. Today, if you travel through Africa and many countries, if you travel through MENA region, almost the majority of this country have their own master degrees on evaluation. They also create their research center on the evaluation or M&E. There is a certification, there is a diploma offered locally in this country. So there is somehow we have to understand that there is a shift, there is a progress on the ground on this field. We are not exactly at the same level 10 years ago or 5 years ago. There is a lot of work has been done, and there is a significant progress on the different countries. What did that mean for us as a program, as IPDET, as PIFED, as TAQYEEM? Means that up to me means that today we have some partner on the ground and we can work with them, and means that we can push our level to go more further and to develop more methodology approach and to work together with this. There is a context today which more easier to develop more capacity, deeper capacity, and work not only sensitize people about evaluation, not only stick on the soft skills or on evaluation or the fundamental of the evaluation, but we can go more and have a collaborative work on the ground, on the field with the different partners that they are also trying to build capacity, local capacity and national capacity on the different countries. I think it's a big opportunity for us. Yes, it's the context is different, is more difficult. There is a lot of challenge of transformation of Louise and Stephen and Candice, you explain very well what is happening right now in the world. Yes, it's a shift, it's a big transformation. Probably the globalization is at the end. We are at the end of the globalization. We are at the emergence of a new international new system, economic system and social system, and there is the global south who's emerging with a lot of production or a lot of new idea and new perspective and different way to see the things and to make decision. So yes, there is a lot of challenge at this, but at the same time, there's a lot of opportunity on the field that on the evaluation where we can work with a different partner on the field, and I think we can create better collaboration and better climate for developing capacity. And I think that you are at the good moment, at the right moment to go on the field and to create your local session on the ground. Let me stop by here.
Thanks very much, Arif, and thanks for that positive note, because I think that is another way to reframe it. Yes, it's a moment of crisis, but it's also a moment of opportunity. So it just depends on how you look at it. How are you going to use this what you've been given to move forward? And I think particularly for the MENA region, I think that the demand levels there are so high. The making full use of that the way you are, I think, is the way to go. Because we know that demand kind of goes up and down, and when it's there, I think what you're doing is absolutely valuable to push into that moment of when the demand is high. And I think for those of us maybe there might be some fatigue, for the participants in our courses, it's how to stimulate that demand is the big question. And that's some of the questions around, like, how do we evolve to make sure that demand does rise again in the right way? I just want to ask our participants who've been listening intently and intensely, just to give you a heads up that in a few minutes we'll be turning the attention to yourselves to ask you to ask us questions, to make your comments. You are welcome to continue using the chat box to do that. But we are such a small group, it would be fantastic to hear from you as well. Maybe you've got some tips for us and advice on as we are transforming and open to evolving and changing to meet your needs in the evaluation community. We'd love to hear from you as well. Just a heads up that this will be the last question to the panelists, and then we will hand over to yourselves as the participants. So I think we kind of answered this question already, right? We moved into the kind of realm of how are we changing, and maybe there are some specific ways in which you want to answer this. But the question is, what have you observed as some of the key capacity development needs and gaps we should be addressing to future-proof the evaluation sector? And what are your plans in relation to this? Maybe let me kick off because I've had some ideas on this, obviously, because I looked and thought about the question. But I thought that this is important for our participants because it's almost a way to inspire them to tell us as well what are needs. And I think, Louise, you touched on this to say, you've got to ask people, the best people to tell us how to evolve are the people who are needing our services and our products. And I think that one of the things I've been hearing and observing in our space is that people want to know how to quickly convert that knowledge to skills and competencies to do what they need to do. I think there's a low tolerance now for just a classroom that kind of reads slides or gives you theoretical information. People want to know, like, how do I convert this into changing how my organization approaches evaluation? And we get very, very challenging questions and real questions from participants in our training sessions to say, like, how do I apply this? But this is my context, and this is like, how do I convert this in there? And I think that is the maturing of our evaluation communities to say that, yes, I can read this stuff in a book, but you need to teach me, and those kind of soft skills, those contextual realities. And I think that these are some of the key capacity development needs that tells us we need to tailor our offerings. And are we doing sufficient training needs analyses, for example? Are we asking the evaluation communities, enough times and in enough ways what it is we need to design? I did talk about reading the recipe book and finding out that you're teaching a vegetarian course to somebody who needs to cook meat. And I think that's kind of what we're doing sometimes. We kind of saying this is a theory of change or this is impact evaluation. They're like, but I don't know what to do with this in my context. I think the real understanding of that conversion of what it says in the books and in the theories and that tailoring of it. And I think, Stephen, you had a good point about the mentorship, that it's not anymore about what happens in the classroom, but it's what happens beyond that. And I think IPDET is also, that's why we're talking about expansion beyond what happens once a year in the summer in Bern. We need to have more opportunities for people to engage and more ways for people to engage and say, okay, I now want to apply this. And I think the second point for me is the contemporary context, and contemporary content. Evaluators need to know, how do I then use AI now in evaluation? My policy decision maker is just asking ChatGPT, what decision to do an evidence synthesis for them. What value am I going to add, or how do I use this? And I think those kind of contemporary pieces of content needs to filter into our courses. And then my last one is that I think we need to offer the evaluation community professional development pathways. We can't just be throwing any more just random courses out there and people must pick and choose. We need to give some kind of signal, some kind of steer in terms of the professional development pathway. So those are just some of my ideas. Let me start the other way around. Maybe start with Arif this time. What are some of your ideas on what are these training needs?
Well, some of the gaps that we I agree completely with you, Candice. What you present is really very interesting and very mindful. But in point of view of TAQYEEM, especially in the region of the Arabic language, as almost all of us know, there is a lot of conflict region in the MENA region and the GCC. And still, the last year we tried to start some reflection about how we can we perform and realize evaluation mission and mandate on this specific context with the conflict context and with where is a lot of security problem, a lot of after conflict or after civil war, like in Libya, for example, or in Syria, or in Qatar, or in Yemen, a lot of country in the region where is not the normal context where we used to work for the stable country and things. So probably this is one of the, I think, one of the challenge and gap that we have to reflect on it and to try to create some methodology that can be more adapted to this context and to the, because it's not a natural evolution of natural progress of the things, so we cannot really see, as a social situation, the progress was from this year to this year as this, because there's a lot of conflict in between, and we cannot really use the usual methodology. So we have to create some new approach, new methodology adapted to this context. This is one of the challenge. The second challenge is also the use of let's say the impact of a lot of new technology. For example, the social media, the things like this can interfere a lot with many other programs. For example, we have seen this in the COVID crisis, and we can see this also in some political transformation or some social transformation, where the impact of a lot of new technology can have a major impact on the society, and how we can measure really the transformation, the social or economic transformation on some context, a specific context. So we have to adapt our methodology, and we have to, even in the training, we have to open some space to how we can create a new methodology, adapted methodology coming from the field, coming from the real context. So I think, yes, there is some, still there is some need to create a new reflection, new approach. Evaluation field never stop to progress, never stop to create new approach and new methodology. So yes, we still have, in this context of the MENA region and GCC, still have a lot of work to do and to fill these gaps.
Thanks, Arif. I think you pointed out very, very important content that needs to be created, which I certainly do see a gap in our sector. There isn't enough on those. Louise, yeah. I'm turning to you. Oh.
Thank you. I think Candice and Aref, you've really summarized my idea very nicely. I share your views about there are many gaps that has to be filled. We still have a lot of work to do. I think more and more it's not about the hard skills. I think especially with the arrival of artificial intelligence, there is a lot of tools now to ease up the learning of the harder skills in a lot of different ways. What we need, although, and this artificial intelligence will never replace the human behind are the soft skills. So everything around facilitation, strategic communication, change management, and so on. This will always be held by human beings, and I think that we have to fill the gap in terms of greater focus on those soft skills, because evaluators are increasingly expected to engage with stakeholders, to navigate politics, to influence decision makers and decisions themselves, and not just to produce reports. And so we have to really be there to accompany this soft skill development in the people that we train. I think, and Aref really mentioned it also, Candice as well, I think we also have to deepen capacities in the matters of emerging and complex areas and issues that we face. We spoke a lot about fragile and conflictual states, but also climate, environmental changes that are really an important issue nowadays. The arrival of AI, digital governments as well, and equity-based approaches. Also, I think these are not optional. They are core to the future of the field of evaluation and have definitely need to be addressed. I know there's already a lot of work being done, but still, I think much more need to be accomplished. And maybe lastly, but not least, we must strengthen institutional and collective capacities as well, not just individual skills. People mostly evolve professionally in organizations. The people, the participants to our programs are those who give life to those organizations. And so that means supporting peer learning, organizational learning cultures, as I mentioned earlier, and facilitating networks of our participants as well to really help them grow together and have organizations transform together as well to adapt to the complexity of our modern society. So I think we're at a crossroad right now where we have to adapt our training to more interactivity and greater focus on those gaps, and have accompany our participants to develop their learning abilities, and I insist having them transform those organizations into learning organizations. Thank you.
Louise. I think you've put it perfectly and just encapsulated like what should an evaluator in this age be like, or what should it's not anymore just a technical specialist, but it's something much more. So I think you perfectly articulated that. Stephen, from the Clear AA side, what kind of training needs and gaps have you observed?
Okay. Thanks, Candice. I think most of the gaps that you said and what Louis said and what Arab said, they are also part of what we actually face them. So I'm not going to repeat those gaps, but I just want to mention probably two gaps that are quite very critical in our space. So Arif was talking about the increasing number of universities offering M&E courses, and I think this has been happening also in our context. However, the problem with the curriculum that we have in most of our universities is actually tailored for the M&E needs of the development partners, not necessarily the public sector, and it's a huge gap. If I'm working for a government department, there's very little that I can actually, little training or little service provider who can provide me training in terms of how do I set up a monitoring and evaluation system within the public sector, especially a complicated public sector, because we've got different types of public sectors in our context. So people don't learn that when they actually learn about monitoring and evaluation. And it becomes a huge capacity gap within the public sector, where they have the skills for monitoring evaluation, but they don't know how to actually set up a system that can actually be quite very effective in generating evidence for decision making, leading to better outcomes for the citizen. So, as a public good institution, Clear AA. I think we've been trying to make a dent on that. Also lobby for the universities to say, probably you need to tailor your curriculum so that your curriculum actually addresses also the need of what of the public sector, not only to tailor the curriculum to the needs of what of the donors, of which we know that also probably they're the biggest market for M&E professionals in our context. Then the second point that I want to make, especially regarding curriculum gaps, I think is the whole issue of sharing experiences. I think we have seen that is quite very effective. Most of the times you feel like you are drowning on your own, and you try to read to say, we have written about what, even a blog or maybe a very short paper in terms of their experiences of setting up a monitoring evaluation system within the public sector, doing evaluation within the public sector, or doing evaluation for complex programs, climate change, and other persistent problems that we actually have, or even the use of AI in our context. So you find out that we actually have very limited literature around that. So I think it's a gap that is actually there that we all need to address as evaluators. It would be good to learn from RF, from Louise, from you yourself, Candice, and then all these information filters into the packaging that we put forward for monitoring evaluation capacity capacity strengthening within our different regions. Because I think we need to learn from others and then we contextualize it to our own regions. So I'm going to stop there, but I think you all made very good points, and those are actually quite also very prevalent in our context. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And you make such an important point about what does it mean to localize in the African context in public administration, because certainly that's been my observation as well, that there's a leaning towards a certain type of evaluation for a particular demand side, and we haven't sufficiently focused on, country national evaluation systems. But without further ado, thank you so much to my panelists for your valuable inputs. I myself have learned so much from you. I'm actually going to go back to the recording and take down some of the notes of some of the things that you said. But now I'm turning towards the participants. And I hope you've enjoyed the inputs from the panelists as well. We don't see any questions in the meeting chat, but does anybody have a comment or a question or a reflection? It's open mic. Please just raise your hand and we'd love to hear from you. Wonderful, Josephine. Go ahead, please take the floor. Dr. Watera.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentations and discussions. So I'm a beneficiary of IPDET. I attended IPDET in 2010, so this makes 15 years down the road. And every time people ask me, even the people that I mentor, how I started my M&E journey, I keep telling them that IPDET was my gate, not just a door, but a gate. It opened a lot of opportunities for me. And one of the things that I strongly value to date is the transition, the management of transition into a network, so that you're not just left alone, you go out there and you're in the wilderness. So the transitioning of the participants to ideas that open me up to understand the need to network and collaborate with other professionals made a lot of difference. And then I'm excited that we are talking about improving access by addressing issues of language, addressing issues of the physical access, and I hope we'll talk about the financial, the cost of running this course, even if it is in Nairobi. If the tuition is going to be within the manageable means, I hope we'll touch that. Lastly, I want to talk about the aspect of public sector. So my participation in IPDET and most of the interactions that I've had, the focus, like Stephen has observed, has been more on development partners and CSO and bilateral NGO world. But I hope that this can now give us a lot of attention on the issues of data. And then you've addressed issues of context, and I hope that we can have more opportunities to talk about Made in Africa evaluation now that we're having the Africa version of IPDET. So I'm excited and I look forward. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Watera, for that. And that is quite a phenomenal history with IPDET, and the fact that you say that it was like a gate. I certainly, that warms my heart, and hopefully we can, continue to do that for others and for other young and emerging evaluators in this space as well. You had a particular comment about tuition and access. I think that's a really important point. I don't know if anybody wants to touch on that. I know we as a group have spoken about that in different ways amongst ourselves. It definitely is a point, obviously. And so I wonder if anybody wants to respond to any of Josephine's comments, maybe particularly one about access and financial access to some of our training courses.
So maybe just to highlight that for those program, still we have some scholarship that can help a lot for the financial access to this program. I think also that reducing the time frame, I think IPDET in Nairobi will be only for 1 week, not for 2 weeks. It will make it more accessible financial, because I think it costs more if we stay for 2 weeks, especially when we are traveling. We also in ENAP try to offer some, with GI, we are trying to offer some session, online session for people who don't have the capacity to travel and to stay for 2 weeks in a specific city because of the cost, probably, or other difficulty. So I think in all the cases, we are trying to make it more easy as much as is possible, because still we have to finance all the fee. That there's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of work need to be done, and I think GI is helping a lot with this. Also, and some other also a partner can help also with this.
Arif, Louise.
Yes, thank you, Arif. I would like to add, because there was a little question, I think, in the chat about how to get those training to the junior evaluation professionals, and I think we just missed it between two other messages, so no problem. But we try to make an effort towards the youth to more include them in the programs. We know that paying the full tuition fee for the program is very hard for the young and emerging evaluators. And so we have a partnership with the French network of evaluation and their youth network as well. And so we always try to offer maybe about 10 scholarships for specifically aimed at younger evaluators, so that we make the programs more accessible, because we know it's hard for them to have access to those programs. I also believe that the in-organization approach is a very effective approach. It's not the only effective approach, but it's a much cost-efficient approach when an organization is ready to really deepen its willingness to develop its own evaluation system and capacity. And so having, for example, 25 people from the same organizations following the same training program, working on real cases that they encounter in their organization, is very, very powerful and also cost efficient when you think about the impact of the program on one organization. Of course, it's not possible to for all of your organizations. Everyone is not at the same level in terms of readiness to implement evaluation as a official practice in the organization, but I think for organizations that really want to build capacity, it's much better to invite the program in their organization than to send individuals in Canada or in Bern or even in Morocco or Nairobi. Like it's a very good idea to have it in their own organization. In the meantime, it's obviously also a good idea to follow the programs closer to where you are as much as possible. And so I think the new version of IPDET in Nairobi, for that matter, will be a very good experience to offer to people.
Thanks, Louise. And I agree with you. That's our model is basically on both what you and Arif said. The scholarships, definitely for those who certainly can't afford to pay for themselves. So the scholarship model is still there. Like I said earlier on, all of the scholarships that would have ordinarily gone to Bern, they are all being diverted to Nairobi. So that's 60 scholarships in total. There are still spots available. So if you have not yet applied, please do apply for those of you who are interested. And then the second aspect, I think, Louise, is very important what you said about institutional training. So we are also redesigning our model to, do that, to have more accessibility to institutions and have them bring 20, 25 people. And then that just also increases accessibility for individuals as well. Stephen, you had your hand up briefly. Did you put it down because I was talking? Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's just one small little point regarding the actually trying to increase access to IPDET, especially IPDET Nairobi. I think, Josephine, you're making a very good point in terms of actually accessibility and the cost of part of the program. And we are actually quite very aware of what of that challenge. And so what we are trying to do, in addition to what Candy said about the scholarships, we are also trying to broker to be the go-between between the prospective participants and other development partners working in our space, to say they also need to contribute towards funding it, because whatever is going to come out from IPDET Nairobi is actually going to be beneficial to them, even though maybe some of the participants might not be working for them. But when you increase the pool of competent evaluators within this space, I think everyone else benefits, especially when you focus on the public sector, because as we know, the public sector is actually the conductor of of the development within their countries, and it actually makes the practice of M&E within those specific countries much more efficient. So we're trying to speak to a number of development partners so that they can also sponsor a substantive number of people towards to IPDET Nairobi. Yeah, so we are quite very aware of that challenge. Thank you.
It's very forward-looking. I'm so pleased to hear that from Clear AA side, Stephen. Thank you. Arif.
I would like to add a small point about Made in Africa evaluation, because Josephine highlighted this point. What we have experienced in the TAQYEEM, what we're trying to do is we create almost all our case study is from the real program, from the context of the MENA region. Which means that the application and the exercise and all the practical tools are created from the field on the real project and on the real context. That help a lot to make to contextualize and localize the program. Also, what we try to do in the last years, and this is also true for the PIFED program, we open space for the the national or local practitioners on evaluation to come in the program and to explain what they are doing in their organization, and if there is any prediction on the evaluation in the local and the national level within the program, during the program. So almost the majority of the PIFED, when we are doing PIFED, for example, in Morocco or in Abidjan or in Dakar or different other spaces, there is always someone from the country, from one of the organization who's coming to participate with us and present their works and to show the example for all the participants that yes, we also have some work done locally and at the national level. So yes, until we have some scientist prediction, and I know that there is a lot of effort right now to produce knowledge and reference from Africa and from the region. So probably in few years we will be able to introduce all this publication and all this research even in the content of our program. So yes, I think we are very sensitive about this, and we are trying to push the maximum that it's not only from the north knowledge and expertise who's coming to the south. Now there's also local prediction, there's African prediction, and there is a very important opening to introduce this in the content of the other different program.
Thanks for speaking to that, Arif. Very important, and we can open up a whole discussion on Made in Africa, I'm sure, but definitely part of our vision as well for the future. We probably have like 30 seconds for a question. If somebody wants to quickly squeeze in a question or a comment, did anybody kind of think of anything burning while we were talking for the rest of the participants, or you were happy to hear from the wonderful panelists? I'm just checking to see if any hands are going to go up. I recognize some names, but I'm not going to put people on the spot today. That would be very unfair of me. But just going once, going twice, just checking if you'd like to say something, if you'd like to ask a question. Okay, I don't see any hands going up. I think as panelists, we've really said a lot, and I don't know if anybody still has like any parting comments. I certainly do have a parting message of encouragement to participants, but maybe by way of getting before the thank yous, I really, of course, do want to thank each of you. Your wisdom is incredible, and what you're doing in your various spaces, I think is so highly valuable. And I personally am very appreciative of the fact that we are all working together in this partnership. So for me, that is brilliant. So we all have this sort of central grandmother, grandfather, great-grandmother figure, IPDET somewhere, but all of us connected as cousins and family members. So it's fantastic. But any final 30-second word of wisdom you'd like to leave for the participants? Let me start with Stephen.
Thanks, Candice. I think my final parting shot is actually that let's meet in Nairobi. It's going to be quite very exciting, and this is for the first time in Africa. I think it's an opportunity to get those bragging rights that Josephine was talking about. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Louise.
Thank you for the great panel today. Great discussion. I'm looking forward to continuing this discussion further with Candice and with Stephen as well. And I am wishing you luck with the first edition of IPDET in Nairobi. We'll be really happy to hear about that experience, and please feel free to reach out if you have want to share experience, and we have a lot of lessons learned in terms of giving the program locally. And as far as PIFED is concerned, we will be offering PIFED in Morocco this year, so end of November, and with the scholarships offered by the GEI as well. And so we're looking forward to meeting any one of you in Morocco. Thank you very much for the panel today.
Thank you, Louise. Arif.
Thank you very much to the panelists, to the participant, and I wish you good luck for the 3 program IPDET and TAQYEEM and the PIFED to progress and to realize more success cohort in Morocco, in Nairobi, and probably maybe in Tunisia or in Qatar in October for TAQYEEM. I hope
Bern.
so. Or in Bern. Never know.
Thank you.
And hope this is the start of the collaboration between IPDET and INAP and Clear Center, and hope we will be able to create to bring together all this program more and more, and to create together good collaboration on this field.
Thank you so much, Arif. And from me, applications are still open for Bern, IPDET Bern. Please do apply. We'd love to see you here in this beautiful city. And participants, thank you so much for your participation and attention today. We hope to see you in all our programs soon. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.